I'm pretty excited to show you just one of the more interactive features of Moodle, and that is the assignment module, which can be used in replacement of paper. And so if a student has a device available to them, they can see the assignment online on the Moodle page, and they can actually turn it in as well when they're finished. So let's jump right in. I'm going to show you three examples. I'm on Mike Harris's page, and it's a biology page, and he has an assignment called the Enzyme Controlled Reactions Lab. You know by this visual cue, if you look at that icon right there with the hand holding the piece of paper, that you're using the assignment module for this resource posted in Moodle. So I'm going to click on that, and this is the assignment description. So what he has asked students to do, you don't have to read all the text because there's quite a bit of it, is go to a digital lab, so it's a virtual lab, and students are able to get to that by clicking on this picture. So he uploaded an image and he made that a hyperlink to another website. Let me just show you when I click on that, how it opens a whole new tab with that virtual lab in it. Then they're asked to do a series of exercises, and then one of the things that they are able to do is they are able to chart and a table of their data, and also they are able to graph it. And then those two things can be downloaded as PDF documents. So one of the things that they're asked to do is upload that assignment. So the PDFs are files that they need to drag and drop into Moodle. So that's one of their digital products. And then he also asked the students to answer these 4 questions. And so in Moodle, you can give the students a text box or an editing window where they can answer questions or type in text. All right, so that's one example, high school biology. The second example is 5th grade. This is Ms. Swaden over at Glen Lake, and she's got a writing block. She's got quite a bit of content here. I'm going to go down to writing, and she's got some really neat writing prompts to get the students thinking and writing. So if I click on this first one, she included an image in there, but these are very simple concepts. It says use the picture as a story starter, write for 10 minutes. What is happening in the picture? Who is there? How did this happen? So students in this example would simply start writing. So they'd get a text box, and that would be their digital submission. Last one to show you, also 5th grade, Tracy Beaverson. She has assignments called autobiography questions. When I go in there, she has posted 3 images, and each one of those images is linking to a template. It's a Google document that she made with the intention that students would make a copy of it. And then you may or may not be able to see the instructions, but in this case, they're not uploading or doing anything in Moodle. They're just simply sharing the Google document with their teacher. And so in this case, it's just the assignment description that's in Moodle. All right. So now we need to take a look at the properties for the assignment module. Well, first of all, let me just hop back to Mr. Harris's homepage. Again, I'm clicking on his breadcrumbs, and this is the short name of his course up in the upper left-hand corner. If I want to add an assignment to any of my blocks, the first thing I'll do is turn on editing. And then the next thing I'll do is go to the block where I want to add the assignment, and I'm going to add an activity or a resource, and then I choose assignment. And when I click add, then I'm going to get a series of fields or properties that I need to fill in. But instead of me doing this now, clicking add, I'm just going to go to the one that's already created so you can see an example with the actual fields filled out. So how do you get into the fields if you've already created an assignment? Well, the way you do that is just click on the assignment name, and then you can edit the settings on the left-hand side in the administration block. So what do you have to put in? Well, first of all, you have to put in the name of the assignment. Second of all, you get the most important part, which is the assignment description. A couple keys to help you out here. First of all, this is an important tool right here, because if I click on that, I can bop into full screen mode so that I don't have just a small window to type in my assignment description. So let me show you, if I click on that tool, how that looks. So now I got a much bigger space to edit. And if I click on that again, it will collapse me back into the smaller window. If you don't see this icon, it's probably because your toolbar is collapsed. This is the toolbar toggle icon. So if you only see one line of tools, you click on toolbar toggle and you'll see 3 lines of tools. Now, how did I get the image in there? That I uploaded the image because one of your tools in Moodle is to insert an image. So if you have an image that you have saved to your desktop and you want to add it to your assignment description, you can upload it using this icon. How did I make a hyperlink? So that this image, when students click on it, goes to the web page where the virtual experiment is. That is this tool right here. If you click on it, you can paste a link into this field, and if you change the target to open in a new window, then when a student does click on that image, it opens up a whole new tab for them. Otherwise, most or many of these tools should look familiar to you from Google Documents or other word processing documents that you've created in the past. Let's take a look at the other fields. Availability, these are dates, and you would only use this if you use the Moodle calendar, because if you do enable a due date, for example, you can have a window of time set such that the students can actually interact with this assignment. Most of the time I do not use these because I don't want students to have a hard time getting to it after the fact. Probably the most important parameters are the submission types. Ask yourself this question: what are you asking the students to do? Well, in Mr. Harris's virtual lab, when they were done, they would have to download some PDFs of their graph and their table from the virtual experiment they did. So if they're going to have to bring in a file, then you're going to want to put a check mark in front of file submission if that's part of what the student's digital work is. Students were also asked to answer some questions. That's why I put a check mark in front of online text, because then students would be able to see a text box so that they could submit answers to questions. So these are the submission types. Now, if I go back to this one right here, in this assignment, Ms. Beaverson is not having the students upload their work to Moodle. She's just asking them to share the document with them in Google. So in that case, if I go into her settings, I don't know what she put for her submission types, but she actually did not need to check this online text because she's not asking them to type anything into Moodle. All right, so the feedback types. You have the ability and most likely will want to give the students comments. So if you want to type into a box to say something about their work, you may put the check mark here. If you want to comment in line with their work, you could change this to yes. Most of the time for submission settings, I am going to say don't change requiring students to click submit to yes, because a lot of times the kids will forget to change it to that, and it will just be considered a draft until they click on the submit button. So I usually keep that no so that students don't accidentally not submit their work just because they're saving it as a draft over and over again. These other things, you can click on the question mark and you can get an explanation of what these things are. I'm not going to go over them all, or this video would be too long. I'm going to skip over group submissions and notifications. You're the grader. So do you want to get an email notifying you if a student finished this digital assignment? I always say yes, because that is a prompt for me to give feedback to my students. Do you want to grade them? That means, do you want to post a grade in Moodle? Well, at the high school and the junior highs, we use Infinite Campus, so you may not want to do that. Or you could give them some subjective feedback. So for example, what type of a grade? If you don't want to give them any points, or at least communicate points to them in Moodle, you could change this to scale. And there are some scales that you could use that are preset. And so like the satisfactory scale just indicates satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or outstanding. Did you know that you could create your own scales. You certainly can. That's kind of an advanced feature. You'd have to contact me about that. I'm not going to go over all the settings in here. Skip over common modules, skip over restrict access and activity completion. All of those we can look at later. They're advanced functions. All right, so then you save and display, and this is what your assignment will look like. You as the teacher will be able to see how many enrolled students do you have in your class, and then the number here shows you how many people have submitted that assignment. On a later tutorial, you'll see how do you grade an assignment in Moodle. But this is your chance now to think about, I'm going to try to have my students submit something digitally. So think about writing an assignment or taking an assignment that already exists. Maybe you're linking to a PDF that has questions on it and having them do it completely online in class.